Can you imagine being trapped in the snow, hopeless with the biting wind lashing your face and the certainty that no one will come to rescue you? What would you have done if, in that moment of despair, a noble and majestic dog appeared through the storm, guided by its instinct and unwavering bravery? This is the story of Barry, the legendary Saint Bernard of the Swiss Alps, whose name became etched in the history of mountain rescue. At the beginning of the 19th century, in the mountainous region of the Great Saint Bernard, between Switzerland and Italy, snow became a relentless enemy. Winters were harsh, storms raged fiercely, and the threat of avalanches was ever present. For centuries, the monks of the Hospice of the Great Saint Bernard had developed a rescue method with the help of trained dogs to find and save travelers lost in the snow. Among these dogs, one would become a legend: Barry. Barry was no ordinary dog. His sturdy body, thick fur, and exceptional sense of smell made him a natural rescuer. But what truly set him apart was his intuition, determination, and unbreakable heart. From a young age, he displayed outstanding intelligence and a protective instinct that made him special. The monks trained him with patience and dedication, and soon Barry proved that he was destined to save lives. Stories of his feats began to spread among travelers and villagers. People spoke of how he found those buried under the snow, how he dug tirelessly until he freed the trapped, and how he guided them back to the hospice, even in the midst of the worst storms. His reputation grew so much that over time, his name became synonymous with heroism. One of the most touching rescues he carried out took place on a freezing, dark night. An avalanche had buried a lone traveler. Concerned about those who might have been trapped, the monks released Barry and other dogs to search for survivors. Barry, following his keen instinct, ran through the snow without hesitation. The wind howled, the snow struck his face, but he did not stop. He sniffed the air, searching for that sign that someone needed help. Suddenly, he began digging desperately at a precise spot. Beneath the snow, a man lay unconscious, his lips blue from the cold, his breathing barely perceptible. Barry barked loudly, alerting the monks who were following him. With his snout, he tried to wake the man, licking his face, offering him a bit of warmth. Finally, the man reacted, opening his eyes with difficulty. Barry, with his enormous heart, had saved yet another life. But this would not be his only rescue. Throughout his life, Barry would save more than 40 people from certain death in the freezing Swiss Alps. Each rescue had its own story, its own emotion, its own miracle. And each time, Barry proved that his bravery and love for humanity knew no bounds. This is the story of a four-legged hero, a guardian of the snow whose legacy remains alive to this day. Join us on this journey through the memories of his feats and discover how one dog changed the history of mountain rescue forever. From birth, Barry showed a special connection with humans. Unlike other dogs, he did not merely obey commands. He seemed to understand the fear and despair of those he rescued. This quality made him a natural savior, as he not only found victims, but also comforted them, providing warmth and protection until the monks arrived to help. The Hospice of the Great Saint Bernard, a refuge for travelers in the mountains, became his home. The monks raised him with care, teaching him from a young age how to track and move skillfully through the snow. Barry learned quickly, watching the older dogs in action and understanding the importance of their work. His instinct for detecting people beneath the snow was astonishing, as if an invisible voice guided him to those in need. Tales of his bravery began to cross borders. It was said that on one occasion he found a child buried by a snowstorm. Without hesitation, he dug with his paws until he freed the boy, then carried him on his back and brought him safely to the hospice, ensuring his survival. That rescue moved everyone who heard it, and reinforced the greatness of this noble animal. With each passing day, Barry became a symbol of hope in the Alps. His eyes reflected an unbreakable determination, a silent promise that he would continue saving lives as long as he had the strength to do so. Barry was not only remarkable for his bravery and rescues, but also for the deep bond he formed with those he saved. Many of the rescued travelers returned to the hospice to thank the monks and, most importantly, to see their noble savior once more. Stories of his devotion spread across Europe, earning him the admiration of all. As the years passed, Barry continued his work, always ready to dive into the snow in search of lives to save. It was said that no storm or challenge could stop him. Barry never hesitated to risk his own life for others. His loyalty and love for his mission were unwavering, and the monks knew they had a true guardian angel among them. Over time, Barry became a living legend. Travelers, explorers, and mountaineers spoke of him with respect and gratitude, knowing that his noble heart beat with the sole purpose of saving lives. But his story still had chapters left to be written, for his heroism would not cease until the very last day of his life. The twilight of Barry's life arrived with the same dignity with which he had lived. His paws, once agile and firm on the snow, began to weaken. However, his spirit remained intact. The monks, aware of his advanced age, decided it was time for him to rest. They offered him a peaceful retirement at the hospice where he would receive the care and love he had so rightfully earned. Despite his retirement, Barry remained a respected and beloved figure at the hospice. Every day, the monks and travelers visited him, thanking him for the lives he had saved. His eyes, though tired, still radiated the same warmth and courage that had defined his life of service. The monks cared for him with devotion, ensuring he had a warm place to rest and a proper diet suited to his age. Though he no longer ran through the snow searching for lost travelers, his very presence continued to inspire everyone around him. He was a living symbol of sacrifice and heroism. One day, a group of travelers arrived at the hospice, among them an elderly man holding his grandson's hand. With tears in his eyes, the old man knelt before Barry and gently stroked his fur. "This dog saved my life many years ago," he said with a trembling voice. "If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here today to tell my story." News of Barry's retirement and declining health quickly spread throughout the region. Mountaineers, shepherds, and travelers from all over came to meet him, to thank him, and to share their own stories of how his bravery had changed their lives. Barry, with his noble spirit still intact, accepted every gesture of affection with patience and serenity. But time does not stop, not even for the greatest of heroes. On a cold winter morning, Barry closed his eyes for the last time, surrounded by the monks who had raised and cared for him. His passing was met with sorrow, but also with gratitude, for his legacy would live on for generations. In his honor, the monks erected a statue at the hospice where his image still stands, reminding everyone that love and courage can change the fate of many lives. His story became an inspiration for future generations of rescuers, and his name was forever etched into the memory of the Alps as the greatest savior of them all. Even today, his spirit lives on in every rescue dog that follows in his footsteps, in every traveler who walks the mountains, and in every heart that finds hope in the midst of adversity. Barry, the noble Saint Bernard, will never be forgotten. Barry's legacy did not end with his passing. His story inspired the monks to continue raising and training rescue dogs at the hospice. From then on, St. Bernards became synonymous with snow rescues, and each new generation of these noble animals carried a piece of Barry's spirit within them. The hospice of the great St. Bernard became a renowned center for training rescue dogs. The monks, recalling the lessons Barry had taught them, refined their methods, ensuring that his bravery and determination lived on in those who would continue his legacy. Thanks to their efforts, travelers in the Alps would always have a guardian ready to save them in their most desperate moments. Years later, a young shepherd found himself trapped in a storm while guiding his flock through a dangerous pass. The snow quickly engulfed him, leaving him without visibility or direction. The cold threatened to steal his life and his strength began to fade. But just as despair was taking hold of him, he heard the echo of a powerful bark breaking through the silence of the storm. It was a Saint Bernard, a direct descendant of Barry, trained at the hospice. With determination, the dog dug through the snow until he reached the young shepherd, who was barely able to stay conscious. He lay beside him, providing warmth with his thick fur while barking loudly to draw the attention of the monks patrolling the area. Thanks to the dog's intervention, the young shepherd was rescued and brought back to the hospice, where he made a full recovery. Barry's story was repeating itself once again, proving that his spirit lived on in every rescue dog. The generations of St. Bernards that followed inherited his protective instinct and unwavering bravery. With every life saved, his legacy grew, solidifying his place as an eternal symbol of hope and heroism in the mountains. Today, Barry's image remains present at the hospice, and the dogs that carry out rescue missions are trained with the same dedication he once received. His feats are shared with every new monk who arrives at the hospice, serving as a reminder that even the humblest of beings can leave an indelible mark on history. Barry's name still echoes through the Swiss Alps, his bark seeming to resonate among the gusts of icy wind. Every traveler who crosses these mountains knows that at any moment, a noble St. Bernard might emerge from nowhere to save a life, just as Barry did countless times. Thus, Barry's story becomes an eternal legend, a testament to courage and unconditional love that continues to inspire all who hear his name. Because in every rescue dog and every person who finds refuge in the mountains, Barry's spirit lives on, reminding us that true heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they have 4 paws and a giant heart. Time moved forward, but Barry's memory never faded. The monks of the hospice continue to share his story with every new visitor, and over time, his figure became a symbol of bravery and hope. Throughout the years, many sculptors and painters captured his image in works of art, ensuring that his legacy remained alive in alpine culture. One day, a group of hikers, inspired by Barry's legend, decided to erect a new statue in his honor at a strategic point in the mountains, where travelers could see it and feel protected by his legacy. The sculpture, depicting Barry in a vigilant stance, with his steadfast gaze and majestic presence, became a landmark for those journeying through the treacherous paths of the Alps. As the world advanced technologically, rescue dogs continued to play a crucial role in snow rescue missions. Although modern equipment made searches easier, the nobility and instinct of the St. Bernards were never replaced. Barry's story served as an inspiration for new trainers and rescuers who understood the importance of these loyal companions in their life-saving work. Among the monks of the hospice, a special tradition was established in Barry's honor. Each year, on the anniversary of his passing, they organized a hike with the current rescue dogs to the statue of the legendary St. Bernard. During the ceremony, they lit candles and shared stories of his bravery, ensuring that his memory would never fade. Tourists visiting the hospice listened attentively to these accounts, and many, moved by Barry's story, chose to contribute donations to support the training and care of rescue dogs. In this way, Barry's spirit continued to save lives, indirectly helping to fund the programs that ensured the continuation of the work he had carried out with such dedication. On the cold, silent nights of the Alps, some travelers claimed to hear soft howls carried by the wind, as if Barry's spirit still roamed the mountains, ensuring that no soul was lost in the snow. For many, this was nothing more than legend, but for those who had been rescued by a St. Bernard, it was a reminder that Barry's legacy transcended time and space. As generations passed, his story was included in books, documentaries, and exhibitions about canine heroism. Schools in Switzerland began teaching about him in their history and culture classes, presenting Barry as an example of devotion and selfless service. Children grew up with his image as a true hero of the mountains. Barry's spirit also lived on in the breeding of new generations of St. Bernards at the hospice. The monks carefully selected the most courageous and noble puppies, ensuring that future generations carried the same passion for rescue that Barry had shown in life. As the snowfall continued to blanket the majestic Alps, Barry's memory remained unchanged. Every time a St. Bernard raced through the snow to save a life, it was as if Barry himself was there, guiding each step, making sure that no one was left helpless in the vast, frozen heights. Thus, Barry's story continues to beat in every rescue, in every bark that breaks the frozen silence of the mountains, and in every traveler who, upon seeing the statue of the noble dog, pauses for a moment to thank him for changing the fate of so many lives. Over the years, Barry's statue became a pilgrimage site for travelers, mountaineers, and animal lovers. Many left small offerings at its base, flowers, letters of gratitude, and even dog collars in honor of the great rescuer of the Alps. His image as the eternal guardian of the mountains evoked respect and admiration in all who passed by. The monks, custodians of his legacy, decided to create a museum at the hospice to preserve Barry's memory and educate new generations about his story. In its halls, visitors could find old photographs, rescue tools used in his time, and testimonies from people who had been saved by him or his descendants. It was a fitting tribute to a hero who never sought recognition but deserved it in every bark, in every life he saved. Meanwhile, the hospice's rescue dogs continued to be trained with the same discipline and love that had defined Barry. Every new puppy that arrived received special dedication, learning to detect danger and withstand the extreme conditions of the mountains. Barry's memory was passed down in every training session, reminding them that they were not just rescue dogs, but guardians of an invaluable legacy. One particularly harsh winter put this legacy to the test. A fierce storm struck the region, trapping several hikers in an inaccessible ravine. The conditions were severe, visibility was low, and the cold was deadly. The monks, together with local rescuers, sent a team of trained St. Bernards, guided by the teachings Barry had left behind. It was a difficult mission, but the dogs found the hikers before it was too late. When the survivors returned to the hospice, one of them, deeply moved by the experience, approached Barry's statue and whispered, "Thank you." It was a simple gesture, but it reflected the profound gratitude felt by all those who, throughout time, had been rescued thanks to his legacy. Barry may have departed long ago, but his spirit remained present in every life saved. As the modern world advanced, rescue work began to integrate new technologies, such as drones and thermal sensors. However, no innovation could replace the instinctive ability and unwavering dedication of the St. Bernards. Barry had proven that courage and loyalty were irreplaceable qualities, and his example continued to make a difference in every rescue. Even today, on stormy nights when the snow blankets the mountains and the wind howls through the cliffs, some claim to see the silhouette of a giant dog moving through the mist. Some say it is merely an illusion, a trick of the snow and moonlight. But others believe it is Barry's spirit, never having left the Alps, always watching over those who dare to venture into his kingdom, ready to protect them, just as he always did. The Swiss Alps, majestic and challenging, continue to be the stage for countless stories of survival and courage. But among them all, one stands out. The story of a dog who, through his nobility and bravery, became a legend. Barry, the St. Bernard savior of the Alps, lives on forever in the hearts of those who believe in four-legged heroes. The Swiss Alps remain witnesses to Barry's enduring legacy. Each winter, as storms rage and paths become treacherous, the St. Bernards of the hospice continue to follow his calling, guided by the instinct and devotion inherited from the greatest of them all. Barry's story has become an inspiration for those who dedicate their lives to rescue missions and humanitarian aid in extreme conditions. During one of the harshest winters of the past decade, a rescue team found themselves facing an unprecedented storm. Among them was a young rescuer who had grown up listening to Barry's stories. As the hurricane-force winds roared and the snow erased every trace of the path, he held onto the determination that the legendary dog had once shown. That day, with the help of the hospice's dogs, they managed to save a family trapped in an ice cave. Barry did not just leave behind a legacy of rescues. He left a philosophy of life. His spirit of sacrifice and unconditional love lives on in those who understand that true heroism is not measured by recognition, but by the ability to give without expecting anything in return. Each time a St. Bernard is sent on a rescue mission, the monks of the hospice whisper a small prayer, trusting that Barry's spirit will guide them. Barry's stories have not only been passed down in Switzerland. Across the world, rescue organizations have drawn inspiration from his legacy to train search and rescue dogs in various climates. From avalanches in the Andes to earthquakes in Asia, Barry's teachings have crossed borders, proving that his story does not belong only to the Alps. It belongs to all of humanity. The Hospice Museum remains a landmark for travelers and canine history enthusiasts. It has become a place of learning where generations of children visit to hear the story of a dog who changed the fate of many lives. On its walls, engraved on commemorative plaques, are the names of those who were saved by Barry and his descendants, a testament to the lasting impact of his heroism. Nights at the hospice are often cold and silent, but on certain occasions when the snow falls especially heavily, the monks swear they can hear a distant bark. Some say it is merely the echo of the winds, but others believe it is Barry, still patrolling the mountains, making sure no traveler is left behind in the vast white wilderness. For the inhabitants of the nearby villages, Barry is not just a legend, he is a guardian who continues to watch over them. The elders pass down his story to the children with respect and admiration, instilling in them the values of courage and solidarity. In this way, Barry's spirit lives on in every tale told, in every rescue carried out, and in every life granted a second chance thanks to his example. Time has not erased his memory. The monuments in his honor, the stories shared around the fire, and the gratitude of those he saved have ensured that Barry is never forgotten. In the essence of every St. Bernard trained to save lives, in every rescue that defies the odds, his spirit still beats strong. The Swiss Alps, with their breathtaking beauty and deadly challenges, remain his home. In every corner of those snow-covered mountains, on every treacherous path, Barry is still present. His story is not just a tale from the past, but an eternal inspiration, lighting the way for those who believe in the power of love, bravery, and unwavering loyalty. Barry did not just leave a legacy in the history of alpine rescue. He left a mark on the hearts of those who see him as a symbol of hope. Every generation of rescuers and travelers who cross the Alps carries his story with them, a reminder that heroism knows no barriers or conditions, only the unbreakable will to help others. As time passed, Barry's image transcended the mountains and became an inspiration for various causes. His statue still stands at the hospice, visited by those seeking comfort, inspiration, or simply the reassurance that courage and kindness can change the fate of many lives. Children and adults pause before his image, some in silence, others leaving words of gratitude, all connected by the essence of his story. The wind continues to whisper his name across the snow-covered peaks of the Alps, as if the mountains themselves refuse to forget him. The monks of the hospice, guardians of his memory, continue training new rescue dogs with the same dedication, ensuring that Barry's teachings never fade. Every bark in the snow is an echo of his spirit, and every rescue is a tribute to his bravery. But beyond recognition and statues, Barry's true legacy lies in the inspiration he left behind for those who understand the importance of compassion. In every person who chooses to help another without expecting anything in return, in every rescuer who risks their life to save another, and in every animal who, with loyalty and unconditional love, becomes a savior. Barry's spirit lives on. The stars shine brightly over the Alps, illuminating the mountains where Barry once ran tirelessly to save lives. His story does not fade because the memory of a true hero never disappears. It only transforms into a beacon, guiding those who follow in his footsteps. If you ever find yourself in the Alps, take a moment to look around. Perhaps, amid the snow and the icy breeze, you will feel his presence. Perhaps in the howling wind, you will hear a distant echo of his bark, because Barry never truly left. He lives in every soul that faces adversity with courage, in every heart that finds the strength to carry on, and in every life that, thanks to his legacy, has been given a second chance. Barry is not just a story. Barry is eternal. And with that, we conclude another incredible tale of bravery and heroism. Here on Animal Heroes, we celebrate all the extraordinary beings who, regardless of their species, have shown remarkable courage. If this story has inspired you, don't forget to leave us a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing stories. See you in the next adventure, where heroism knows no limits.